Hello guys, what's going on? I'm Rafael Begosso and welcome to another mixing tutorial. Today's song is a country rock tune. It's an instrumental track, so no vocals for today. And there's a fiddle doing the lead part. So it's very challenging, but it's a very fun song. I enjoy it very much. I like the process of going through the mixing stages, and that's what we are going to see in a few seconds. Stick with me. So, in today's song, we have a kick in, a kick out, so two mics for the kick, a snare, snare top, snare bottom, hi-hat, two toms track, an overhead, and a mono room for the drums. Also, you have another room here. Then you have a click track. Obviously, we are not going to listen to that. Bass DI, acoustic guitars, acoustic and electric guitars, pianos, so just one piano, keys, fiddles, that's doing the main melody. And then I went ahead and imported the tracks here in my DAW. And what we are going to listen now, it's with everything bypassed. So no processing, no mixing here yet. Just gain staging. That's the very first thing you should do. To hit the plugins with the right level, you know. Some tracks you need more, some tracks you need less. Then you can, as I did, you can set the levels with the faders, pan properly the tracks, and I also like to create kind of a busing system. All right, so I chose to create a rhythm electric guitar bus, drum bus, bass bus, acoustic guitar bus, keys bus, electric guitar bus, and fiddle bus. So let's listen to a bit of the song. I hope I don't get any copyright problems. Last video, it took me so long to make the video and edit the video, and then it was blocked, unfortunately. I couldn't even demonetize it nor anything. It was really blocked. Nobody could see the video. So the only thing I'll let engaged here, it's the limiter, just so you can have a better level. All right. So let's take a listen to a small segment of the song. Right, so you are listening also to some volume automations I did afterwards, after I mixed the song, of course. So let's talk about the mix bus in a second. So I like to start my mixes with the mix bus. That's not always the case. You can start with another instrument, but you know, everything will be going through the mix bus. So the sooner you set it up, of course you can adjust it in the process, but everything will be affected by those plugins in this case, or those hardware if you happen to have a hardware. First thing, as always, it's a bus compressor. I'm using the SSL here. 4 milliseconds attack, fastest release, 4:1 ratio, and adjusting the threshold and the makeup gain so it responds correctly. All right. So I'll play a little bit without and with the bus compressor. Just pay attention to this button. When it's blue, it's engaged. When it's gray, it's bypassed. All right. Then the next plugin I have here is Blackbox from Plugin Alliance. It's a very cool plugin. You can do lots of stuff. I make it. I let it simple. It's kind of a harmonic enhancer, you know. That there's tubes and there's lots of things going on here. So I usually start with some mix bus preset and adjust the saturation and some other parameters. Let's take a listen without and with it. Pay attention here to the button. Next, I have here an exciter, just to give it a little bit more harmonic content. Again, pay attention here to the button. You should use small amounts of this kind of plugins, either the Blackbox or the exciter from Ozone. You see here, just a very, very small amount. Now, I also have an imager. Again, especially in these bands, a little bit more in the high bands, but in these bands, nothing. To kind of, the low bands, you want to make them kind of centered, and the high bands you can spread to the stereo field. All right, let's listen without. All right. The other plugins, as I told you, we were listening to this with a limiter just to have better levels for the video. I have a master equalizer that we are going to go back to it when we are finished mixing. And I have a final FabFilter Pro Q just to monitor the frequencies. All right, it's not doing anything. We can also have here a very cool plugin from Plugin Alliance. Oops, it didn't find, but doesn't matter. This is a very cool plugin. You can monitor everything from your sound, and you can compare it with other tracks. You know, you have here kind of the spectrum, the correlation, the stereo image, the dynamics, and the loudness. Worth checking out this plugin, especially if you are mixing for clients and you are given a reference track. All right, but even without a reference track, it's cool to isolate the bands and to check everything here in this plugin. So let's go to our drums. I usually like to start my drums from the overheads, as it's a better representation of the sound of the drum set. And you are going to see a lot this plugin here in this session. It's the channel strip from Brainworks Plugin Alliance, Brit N. It's an emulation from a Neve console. This console is very, very cool. It is said to have been used in lots of soundtracks, but it has a very cool bottom end and a very classy high end also in the sound. I thought it was appropriate for this song, you know? Then what did we do here? We had some filtering going on. Then a little bit of compression, nothing crazy, you know, and some EQ. Let's listen without it, and then I'll engage the button here. As you saw here in the gain reduction meter, it's very little compression. But I'm taking a little bit from the boxiness here, around 400, giving it a little bit of a boost around 60 hertz to give some bottom end, and also giving it a little bit around 8K, you know? And that's it. A little bit of backing out the input gain, using the V gain a little bit. That's the harmonic emulation from this plugin. That's very nice. And then after the overheads, I usually go to my kick. Let's listen to the kick and the overheads. This is the kick in, all right? So here we also have a Brit end console. Again, taking a little bit of the boxiness and giving a lot in the low end. This is the kick in mic, all right? Not that much compression also. Let's listen to it. It gets this beefy sound, but not that much compression. And there's also some expansion going on, kind of a gate here, just to isolate better the sound, you know. Then after that, I have a Pro Q doing some crazy dynamic and band adjusting, so it gets even punchier. Without it, with it, then the kick out. Let's listen without the console. Just have one plugin here. And now I'll activate it. Again, some expansion, little bit of compression, similar settings regarding the EQ from the other mic also. Together you have a very respectful kick sound. Then we have our snare top, again Brit end and Fab Filter. First the Brit end, let's listen without it. Then with it. A little bit more of a compression. Also, you have the expanding. Here I'm accentuating the crack of the snare, but giving a little bit of a body also. All right, so that's it. And then we have the Pro Q here. Again, some kind of a lot of curves here in the plugin, but it sounds very nice. Let's see. Without it. All right. Then we have our snare bottom. Again, the Brit end. It's the only plugin here we have. Not that much compression, but taking out boosting the mid-range, so you get a little bit of a different sound from the snare top, but also a little bit of the low end and the crack from the snare. Let's listen again with the Brit end console. All right, so now the hi-hats. Just doing some filtering and EQing with Fab Filter. trying to attenuate here this region because it doesn't have the hi-hat, it doesn't happen here. It's just the bleed from other mics that you are listening, but also boosting a little bit of the high end. Let's listen without it and with it. Now, our first set of tone tracks, I have a gate from FabFilter and the EQ. Let's listen. We don't need to listen to the gate, all right? It's just trying to get rid of the bleeding of the sounds. But the EQ is interesting. So let's find a spot here. All right, there are tones here. So boosting the low end, boosting a little bit of the high end, but filtering some nasty frequencies. Now let's engage the FabFilter EQ. A little again, a small piece of the song, but it makes a lot of difference without it. Then with it. All right, so in the other tone track, we also have the gate and again, the EQ. Let me see if they play here. Yeah, there's a hit from this other tone track here also. But we have two here. Let's see. It's kind of the floor tone, right? The lower tone. So with the Pro Q, all right. Our drum sound is getting cooked. It's getting really, really nice. Now, the room. First, this is labeled mono room. Let's check just the Brit N again without it. Let's listen in solo this track. I think you can hear better. I'll activate here. All right. Taking some mid-range, boosting the low end. Almost no compression. And also giving it a little bit of the high end, all right? So with the rest of our drums, now the other room mic, I think they are stereo. Let me see. Yeah. It's kind of a further mic, further back in the room. It's a very good thing to record drums like that because you have the natural ambience from the studio also. Of course, if the studio has a good room, you know. So let's listen with the plugin, the Brit N. Compressing it a little bit. And then taking the boxiness again, low end, crack from the snare, and also compressing it a little bit. Now with the rest of our drums, very, very cool sound drums. It's very well recorded, but we could enhance it a little bit. So let's talk about the bass now. We have a bass DI track here, and I use the console again, the Brit N, and the FabFilter. Let's take a listen without any plugins whatsoever. Now with the console, I'm boosting around almost 100 hertz, a little bit less. Sorry. I am taking out a little bit of 700 and a half, and boosting a little bit of 6K to hear more presence and high end from the bass. And also taking off a little bit 1.5, 1.6K. And I'm compressing a little bit more than the drums here. Let's listen with the console. Now, our Pro Q is just giving a little bit of room to the kick around 60 hertz, so it doesn't get in the way, you know. It's a very nice thing to do to put this EQ on the bass, so your drum, your kick drum and your bass they don't fight, you know, they don't dispute the same frequencies. All right, now our guitars. First the acoustic and then the electrics. The acoustic guitar, I'm using just the console again. Let's listen without it a bit. Right, it's very well recorded, but we are taking a little bit of 500 and a bit, giving it a little bit on the low end, and boosting also around 1.5K and 13K just to give a little bit more air. And also I'm compressing a little bit more because it's a heavy acoustic drums. Yeah, I'm sorry, very acoustic guitar. A very strong strummed guitar, I should say. All right, now our kind of a rhythm guitars here. I have a bus for them, and I panned each one of them to the left and to the right. All right, I'm just using the Brit N. Let's take a listen without the plugins first. All right, and then for the electrics, we have the Brit N. Compressing it a little bit, taking off around 400 hertz, giving it a little bit of body to the sound, and rolling off the high end, you know, around here, 6K and around 7K also, and compressing it a little bit. I think they are the same settings because it's just another dub here. Yeah, so the same settings for the guitars, and I have a bus for them, just spreading the stereo image so it doesn't get in the middle of the field, you know, the sound field, just leaving the middle for the low instruments, and in this case, the fiddles. Or when you have vocals, it's also the vocals. We're going to talk about the buses later. But this bus is it's kind of a thing on its own. You know, you have two tracks and you want to control them with one fader. And I took the opportunity to use the imager here also. So we have one more guitar that I think it's the lead guitar, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. Yeah, it's doing some other stuff here also, but in this point, it's the lead guitar, and you can see the automation here also to bring it more forward in this moment. Here, let's listen without it. Then with it. Compressing it a little bit, giving it a little bit of low end, and boosting this kind of a mid-range, so it brings the solo more forward, you know. You have to be careful with this region for the electric guitars, but you can boost it sometimes a little bit to bring some parts, or especially solos, to forward. And taking a little bit on the high end here, around 7K, and giving a little bit of boost around 2K also, just to bring the sound more forward. All right, then next we're going to talk about keys and the fiddle solo. Our piano, this kind of piano is very specific to this kind of style, and we have to be careful with it, because it can get very annoying, this high stuff, you know. Let's listen a little bit more. So I had to compress it a bit. So and then, in order to not let it sunk in the mix, I had to automate a little bit. But EQ wise, I'm doing very simple. I'm taking around 400. I'm giving 2K a little bit. I'm giving 11K a little bit, and I'm giving a little bit around 80 hertz to give some body to the sound, you know. But I'm compressing almost 10 dB here, in automating here in other parts of the song. Let's listen without the console. Now with it. Much more controlled, right? Now, our fiddle tracks also needed a lot of automation here for this track. So it you know, you can highlight the important moments of it. But I'm using just the console also. We have 3 fiddle tracks, you know. Let's listen to them in solo so you can have a better idea. This is with the console. I had to compress it a lot, and this is without the console. You know, boosting a little bit here in the mid-range, also in the low end, but taking off around 3K, because it's funny, funky region for the fiddle. It can get too scratchy, you know. Our second fiddle track, it plays just a little bit here, but it has some important moments. This is without the console, and now with the console. All right, similar settings here, but what's really doing the job here is the automation. You know, it was very important. And our last fiddle track here without the console. Now with the console. You see the compressor working? Now, everything engaged, but not with the buses yet. All right, so let's talk about in the next video about the buses and the reverb. Not a lot regarding the buses, but I have a bus compressor for our drums. Let's solo the drums here, so you have a better idea what it is doing to the sound. All right, just the drums without the bus compressor. And with it, you know, no more than 4 dB of compressions, not not squashing the sound too much. You can see the needle moves. It's a very good indicator. If the needle kind of gets stopped in one region, it almost always sounds overcompressed, you know. And then the FabFilter, I thought the cymbals were too proeminent here after I mixed, so I had them attenuated here dynamically with the FabFilter, and also creating room for our bass around 100. Also dynamically, because it's a better way to treat the frequencies. First, without the FabFilter. And now engaging it. Right, so you can see it attenuates a little bit of the kick drum around 100, and it attenuates a little bit of the cymbals. Now, bass bus is just a fader for me to have the volume settings better. Acoustic guitar bus for me, it's just for using the imager. All right, just spreading it a little bit. And electric guitar is just a bus. We have the reverb here later we are going to talk about. But the important bus is the fiddle bus, because even though we compressed in the console, it needed more, you know. So I used the 1176. I used the blackface one because it is already a bright sound, so I wanted to use it as a color box also. Let's listen without the 1176 on the fiddle bus, and then I'll engage it. Pay attention to the button here. I have to solo the bus. I think I'll let everything play. Let's see. What's going on here? Oh, they are muted. Now. Now with the 1176. Then I have a Pro Q again to attenuate a little bit of the 3K, because it's a not very good frequency for this fiddle, but giving it a little bit of high end in return. So without it, then with it. And I'm adding a little bit of delay. You can hear it, especially in the end here, after the last strum for the song. You know, you can hear it more prominently here, but it's doing a lot of stuff during the song also. It's giving a little bit of more a spatial idea for the fiddle solo. And then our reverb. It's just one reverb. Here I'm using only on the buses, as you can see, and a small amount of plate here. This time I'm using the H reverb from Waves. And I'm tweaked a little bit the preset called warm plate, but also I'm doing some imaging on the reverb. I'm doing some de-essing on the reverb, and I'm doing a little bit of EQ on the reverb, you know. Sometimes it's very good to process the reverb track and get rid of some things you don't like about the sound of that reverb. So let's listen without the reverb first. You can hear the delay, all right? But now I'll engage the reverb in the same spot. All right, so let's finish up with our master bus. Now I have a master EQ that's giving a little bit on the low end, taking a little bit on the 200s, and taking a little bit on the 5K. 4K. And especially doing this kind of stuff dynamically. So if it goes up or down the threshold, it activates, all right? Let's listen without the EQ. And then with the EQ. I also have a Sonarworks here for my headphones. I mixed this song with the Beyerdynamic DT9090 Pro, and this plugin does the correction for it puts a curve, you know, to correct the sound of the headphones. It gets more flat. And then the last thing is just ProQ to give me, as I told you in the beginning, a visual feedback. All right. So let's listen to something of the song now with everything engaged here, and you can compare it with the beginning of the video. I think I'll bypass better. Let's do this now. I'll bypass all the inserts, but the master fader, and we listen to a small fragment of it. Now with all the inserts activated, yeah, here. So guys, that will be all for today. I hope you liked it. If you want to talk with us about your project, about your song, about mixing, composing, recording, you can use our social media, our websites, you can see here. You can find me pretty much on all social media, just typing Rafael Begosso, but I have links for them in my websites also. It was a very cool track, very well recorded track. Remember, the mixing, it's much easier if you have a well recorded track. That's a lesson. It doesn't fixing the mix is not a good thing. You know, you record it poorly, and then you expect the mixing engineer to fix everything magically. It won't get that good of a result. So guys, see you next one. Bye bye.